Now, say my name.
The Rolling Bad Podcast.
You're goddamn right.
Coming to you almost live from a dark corner of Azir, it's the Rolling Bad Podcast, episode number 164. It is July 21st, and I'm your host, Bill Costello. With me today,
all the way from the scouring sands of Akshi, it's Joshua Alt.
You rat.
Hey, I'm a little crispy from the sun from moving a bunch of stuff yesterday. Maybe it'll turn into a tan line. I don't know. But either way, I have been beaten by the realm of fire.
So,
but we're here.
Yeah. And you know what else is here?
AoS 4.
Oh, right? My God. Yes, we were supposed to record last week, but I was in isolation because my wife had a meeting with a person that had COVID. So it was kind of comical. I was at the store on Thursday, and she called me, and she said, you know, when you come home, don't plan on leaving for the next 3 days. And I was like, oh, no, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, God dang it. So I felt like I had to throw you the option to not record last week just because, you know, nothing came of it, but better safe than sorry. I know you had a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah. It's been a wild month and a half.
So here we are with the new version of AoS 4.0. And as you might imagine, this show will probably be dedicated to a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
And probably most of After Dark as well.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, I do want to say that I have a copy of the Scaventide Collector's Edition book. We're going to raffle that bad boy off.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Going to send it to somebody somewhere in the world who's going to get a Collector's Edition Scaventide book if they, want it. So the way this is going to go down, we'll probably cut off in a couple of weeks. Probably the day we record the next show, we'll cut off entries. But the way you get entries is going to be real simple. Patreons are going to get an automatic 2 free tickets. If you leave an iTunes review, you'll get 2 tickets. If you comment on the YouTube video for this with the hashtag RollingBad and AoS 4, you'll get 2 tickets. If you like and subscribe on YouTube, you'll get 2 tickets. And you'll get a ticket for an email to us at rollingbadpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, that's rollingbadpodcast, all one word, at gmail.com. Get your entries in today, and you might get, a free collector's edition book, because that's cool. And on another note, I found a stock of, funny story here, but I found a stock of the Rolling Bad dice.
Oh.
Yeah. So
that's what those are, huh?
Those are Rolling Bad dice with the Rolling Bad logo on the 6. I'm pretty sure it's on the 6. Yeah. I hope it's not on the 1. That would be, no, this is Chess X. They put it on the 6. Anyway, I'll be putting some pictures of those up on the Discord, and I've just started an email trail with Chessex to make another couple of sets of these. So hopefully we'll be putting those up for sale here shortly. And of course, patrons will get a set just because they're cool. And former patrons too. Okay, so anyway, are we ready to move on to a new dawn that's not AoS 4? Because
I think so. I think so.
Okay, so in things that aren't AoS, for Marvel Crisis Protocol, the Shang-Chi and Silver Sable box came out, as did the Black Panther Favorite of Bast, as well as Namor come out. Those 2 packs are cool. They also released one of their sort of fun mission packs called Mojo Ball, which is just basically playing football with superheroes throughout the entire city.
Yeah.
So that looks really cool. Cannot wait. Over the weekend, last weekend, or actually was it this weekend? I don't know. It was relatively recent. AMG did their mini extravaganza, where they just basically road-mapped out Shatterpoint Legion and MCP. And oh my God, they announced a new version of Legion.
Yeah.
And wow, are people reacting? It's, that's a very strange community. I don't mean strange in a bad way either. I mean, it's, they want updates, they want stuff. AMG gives it to them, and they're like, we don't like that. Because they're changing the cards, they're changing the format. Mm-hmm. It seems to me like some rules are going to change. In more later, if you're that interested, Star Wars Legion is a completely crazy fun game. But with the current rules iteration, it can get very very bogged down in rules very quickly. I think they're going to alleviate that. And I think as they do the AMG treatment to the rules, people might get a little upset. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. In Shatterpoint, they roadmapped out the new stuff coming down the pike. And oh, my Lord, so cool. As well as MCP with around October, they're going to be doing the monsters. So you got Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's going to be so cool. And Apocalypse is coming. The way they talked about, they have a whole show. One of the streams was about Apocalypse and how you do the 4 horsemen.
Yeah.
So you're going to basically build a list with Apocalypse, and then he's going to give each one of the characters you put in the list one of the horseman cards.
Really?
Yeah, it looks cool as... It's going to be weird.
Yeah.
To me, I think this is either going to be way overpowered or it's going to be, oh man, that's not cool. But anyway.
So is the structure going to be that like you get to pick any of the heroes, period, whatsoever, to become whichever horseman?
I can't honestly say because I turned off the extravaganza when you came over and they were getting to that point. But basically they showed Apocalypse and how cool he's going to be. And his leadership ability is that after you're done building your list before the game, you take the 4 horsemen cards, Pestilence, all that stuff, and you put them on different characters and they gain those powers. So I'm imagining it's going to be some interesting, cool themed power to go with, famine, pestilence, death, destruction, but there will probably be a downside to them as well because, they like to balance their games. They're so weird. So
that's if you can assign it to like varieties of different characters, that's going to be one of the biggest theory crafting.
Well, you think about
period.
It's Apocalypse, so almost any of the X-Men are up for potential, hell, just about every one of the X-Men really has at one point been with Apocalypse. So I mean, your list building is going to be a lot of fun, and min-maxing that one is going to be, that's going to be tight. So a lot of changes to MCP. A lot of cards have gotten rotated out. A lot of staple cards have been rotated out.
Yeah.
Deception's gone, so Mystique is sad. Mission Objectives is gone. A lot of weird cards. It looks like Web Warriors really won that round. I think X-Men took... Well, anybody with Exceptional Healing took a big hit because Exceptional Healing went away.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And what it was replaced with is junk. Because now the way Exceptional Healing works is you heal after damage is done, after the attack is resolved. So some of your Honey Badger X23 Exceptional Healings, they're not going to survive the attack, so they're never going to get to play the card.
Oof.
Whereas, some of the bigger ones, the Logans, the Wolverines, Beast, those, the bad guy.
Sabretooth?
Thank you. Sabretooth. They'll probably be able to survive the attack and pop the healing, but it's not going to help X23 and Honey Badger, so the days of them splashing into different lists are probably gone because they're not good enough on their own. So, I don't know. Just strange stuff in the world of gaming. I am going to talk at length about Tales of the Valiant, which is D&D improved in After Dark. But if you need a role-playing game and you love D&D, but you hate Wizards of the Coast, go get Tales of the Valiant right now. It's Cobalt Press, so it's absolutely phenomenal and well-produced, and it's really good. Anyway, moving on. The Star Wars Unlimited card game released the Shadows of the Galaxy set. So set number 2 is out. I have it. We haven't popped it open yet. Probably going to do that tonight. Let you know.
Sounds like it's going to be a party.
It is. It is. So let's start hobbying.
Oh, yeah. I think we both started doing that again.
Yeah, it's weird. It's been so long since I was hobbying and actually enjoyed it in the AoS world.
Yeah.
Was actually having fun doing it. I've been having a lot of fun putting together MCP stuff and putting together, Conquest stuff. But honestly, if I had to build something for AoS, I was like, God, there's got to be something else I can be doing.
Yeah, dear God, please.
Yeah. Instead, now I'm like, okay, I need to build this. I need to build this. Oh, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait. So, you wanna start us off? I've been talking.
I mean, I think we kind of complimented each other in what we did for our hobby portions. I think you got a little bit further on yours, but I built the Skaven half of Skaven Tide.
Yeah.
More comments to come on it, but I really enjoyed the process of building those models. I had a grand old time with it. I really did. I haven't primed them yet, just because of the amount of moisture that's been in the air recently, and I have
yes.
The rattle can don't do too good with that. So hopefully, if it dries up a little bit this week, I can finally get them primed and, I don't know, start putting paint on models.
Yeah. I know the last time I primed the rattle can, it was like early in the morning when it was reasonably not so hot.
Yeah.
You know, it was only in the 80s and the rain and humidity had died down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's something that we don't face very often here in the Southwest, where it's actually humid.
Yeah, it's been raining like 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, at least.
The humidity factor's been way up there.
Yes.
Which also has been unleashing god awful amounts of pollen and allergens into the air. I had an incident last weekend where like my left eye all but swelled up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was brutal. I mean, had to ice it. I was taking Benadryl after, Allegra D, and like it was just back and forth between all that, flushing my eyes.
Yep.
I looked like someone punched me in the face. People kept asking if I should go back to the gym and have someone balance me out. But
yeah. You need 2 black eyes, son. Great.
But yeah, that's my side of it. Skaven all day. Love the models. We'll talk more about that in a few.
Yeah, sure will. For my part, of course, I built the Stormcast Eternal half because, that's what I do. And I got them all primed, luckily, and I got one test model painted up. What I've done is I've basically, because these guys are going to be Ruination Chamber, I just took my old paint scheme for my normal Stormcast and just dulled everything down. Tried to desaturate it as much as possible. And I think I may have gone off the deep end on the desaturation because I think they look a little bland. Mm-hmm. But I just did a test Liberator and just a field one. Maybe the other, with a little bit more stuff, detail, the others might look better. I don't know. I'm going to keep going with it and see what happens because there's always paint stripper. So,
And hey, Ruination Chamber is the grim dark.
And that's
AoS.
why. I'm not too upset with it because A, it's not going to be like a majority of my force, and B, it's just it's a different way of doing stuff. So it's kind of fun.
I can dig it.
Yeah. On that note, I'm not going to go into details. Probably wait until later. But Perry parked his truck out in Austin, and it got broken into hard. Our combined Daughters of Cain and Stormcast armies were stolen, as well as his Ogre Maw Tribe's army, and he had a 40K army in there. I forgot what he said it was, but he doesn't play 40K, so he didn't care about that. But probably it was a 2,000 point Stormcast army. It's about 3,000 points of Daughters that we both, had combined to build and paint. And his entire Ogre Maw Tribe's army, which was probably in excess of 4,000 points, gone. So if you see armies in the Texas area that are going up for sale cheap, please let me know. And as well as wrecking his truck pretty much violently. They took the 2 front seats, the dashboard, and all the electronics underneath the dashboard. So they knew what they were doing. So we got a lot of building to do to get back into it. Although we did have enough Skaven Tide stuff built to play a spearhead scenario, because you got to do that.
Yeah.
You just have to do that. And I got to tell you, that was an absolute blast. We timed it. It took 97 minutes for 2 brand new to AoS 4 players to knock out the spearhead game. And that's looking up some of the most basic rules. I was floored by how smoothly this new rule set works.
Oh, yeah.
And just the elimination of battle shock, I'm like freaking 2 thumbs up. Thank God for that. Anyway, it just works. It's awesome. Actually eked out a win in that game, 21-18. I was also very impressed how the game swung kind of back and forth. We'll get into it when we start really discussing AoS 4.0, but the underdog mechanic is very interesting. The double turn mechanic, I will get to my thoughts on this when we get to it, but I think it needs a little bit of a tweak. The double turn is still very, very strong, and the penalty is, it's not a penalty if you've planned it right. It's a benefit. We'll get that when we get to the rules. So yeah, that's where I'm at hobby wise.
Yeah, I didn't get any games in. I've just been back-to-back trials.
Yeah.
Finished a homicide right before the 4th. Then I had a week to prepare for 7 more trials.
Oh.
So over the weekend, from Friday to Monday of last week, I was preparing for a felony domestic violence trial. And at 1:45 on Monday, the plea was accepted and the judge allowed it, so it got removed. So I had less than 24 hours to prepare for a 2-count drug trafficking trial. So, call my witnesses, get ready, jury instructions, everything's set. We're literally sitting there going through the jury questionnaires and trying to sort them based off of, the random numbers that are picked and everything. And then all of a sudden the defendant's getting cold feet, so he's asking about pleas and all that kind of stuff. And the only plea the judge will allow is straight up. And then, she makes the determination, we make recommendations, right?
Right.
So I was authorized to not recommend prison since he had no felony convictions in his past. He's on probation now, but he's looking at 18 years if he messes up.
Oof.
I guess that's just the risk you take. So that just deleted all the rest of the trials for that week. A whole bunch of other ones got continued.
Nice.
One defense attorney literally put in their motion to continue that they're exhausted.
Oh my God.
I was like, I was in the same homicide trial with you 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to trial. What's the problem? So now I'm set up for a vehicular manslaughter trial slated to begin on Tuesday. So that's where my battles have been. I'm hoping to get some more some games in following this week, because then I have about a month and a half before my next trial docket.
Oh, nice.
So I can actually start trying to put models on the table.
Exactly.
Be like, how does this happen again? Right. All right. I brought a D10, a D20, and
I brought my RPG dice. Can I use these? Yes.
Exactly. I look forward to it, particularly Spearhead. I think everything I've seen, everything I'm reading, it's fairly well balanced, and we'll have a lot of fun talking about that, because Bill did up a little example that I think will be really fun to explain to everyone. But that's where I've been.
Yeah. I agree. Although your battles are too bad, it doesn't come down to a die roll. A monitored die roll between you, the other attorney, and the judge. Here's big case, here's big dice. So the camera can catch them and just roll them.
Yep.
Whoever rolls higher wins. You get pluses and minuses based on, how you did in opening arguments and evidence and all that weird stuff.
One for the defense is an automatic guilty. And
And meanwhile, the defendant's just sitting there going, I don't believe this stuff.
Hey, man, with the jury system in America, it might as well be.
So let's move on to the lore of the show. And it might go quick, or it might take forever. Let's see what happens. AoS 4.0 hits the street. The Scaventide box is out, and as of this week, the core book is up for sale.
Yep.
They have them at the stores. I am absolutely flabbergasted by how well written the rules section is.
I agree.
And I'm not saying the other sections aren't well written. I'm just saying, concentrating on rules, these are very technical. This is a rule set. This is not a narrative description of how to play the game like we've seen in virtually every edition up to now, except for first.
Yeah.
Where they tried to stick to 4 pages, which lasted, a week? It's just so well written. It's so technical. And the way they have taken everything and turned it into an ability.
Yeah.
Just sort of, it gives a common framework for absolutely everything you do in the game. While it may seem overdone, movement is an ability. Setting up the table is an ability. All these little things that they have call outs for, but it does make the rule format much easier to digest.
I agree with that. I really like the ability setup and the reaction setup and everything. I mentioned a little bit earlier playing Magic or playing other CCGs and things like that. If you're familiar with that style of gameplay, like it's now for this. It's tabletop. Everything's an action you take. You move through phases, right? You have priority passing.
Right.
And I think by having everything, structured in the sense of an ability, what I would hope it would do is it's going to be standard for anyone who's been playing competitive card games before or strategy card games. But I think it really helps being, like I activate this ability. I pass priority. Do you have any reactions to the activation of that ability? Right. I'm at the beginning of phase. I have no beginning of phase abilities. Do you have any beginning phase abilities as I pass priority? And it can help structure the turns like that. I mean, that we'll talk a little bit about how that gets complicated later, but I like that. I really like that.
It makes timing so much simpler. And one of the things I've been really impressed with like the battle report they did on Warcom, as well as, a lot of the ones that I've seen from Play on Tabletop and Vanguard, and just the myriad of different battle reports I've been watching, it's really, the guys are following the steps, and it just makes it so much simpler. And having things iconed and color-coded, just so easy, so wonderful. And it just makes a lot of those timing issues just go away.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't appear anymore. And those, hey, I need a judge. Does this go off before this or after this? Well, it's your turn, so it goes before. No, No more of that. No more. It's all going to go off. Bang, 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 bang. And they have a great little chart in the book that should answer any question.
Agreed.
The biggest thing that you have to, and I would say concentrate, the two biggest things to concentrate on are the rules of one and the idea of you, yours, both, and opponents. Those are keywords that you have to look for in the text of cards. For instance, an ability that says core, you can only use one of those, period.
Yep.
And like moving is a core action. Running is a core action. So you can't do both, obviously. Yep. All these little things that just make it much, much easier to understand. Oh, this guy comes out with this other ability and it's not listed as core. So I guess I get to do it in addition to the core movement. Mm-hmm. So super handy the way they did that stuff. And of course, the you, yours, opponents, and any keywords are huge. You look at that Night Haunt who can teleport in any movement phase.
Yep.
That means your opponents.
Yep.
That means your movement, your opponent's movement. Anytime there's movement happening, he can teleport. So that's a huge ability. And if you just kind of gloss over the fact that and you only use it in your turn, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah, you're losing half the ability.
And yeah, you're throwing away the points that he's based on.
I mean, the fact that also too with that any type of movement, right? When we're talking about his little teleportation effect, right? Mm-hmm. Since you are you have second priority in your opponent's turn, right? He moves at the end, like after all of your opponent's moves have been done, right?
Yeah.
Like he gets the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And that makes him that much stronger.
Yeah, he's reacting to what the other guy just did. It's so cool.
So good. It's so good. In that same vein, there's a whole page dedicated to this, but I think the rule is pretty easy to understand is when it's talking about who's using the ability. And if it's something where it says, like pick a unit.
Yes.
Right? And then, you roll a dice for, every model within such range of that. Like you picked the unit. But when a unit uses an ability, right, such as contained on their war scroll, that unit uses it, not you, the player.
Right.
Why that's important is because of the, once pers.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, that's going to confuse so many people.
Like units who have a once per phase or once per turn ability, if the unit is using that ability, then any number of units with the same name can use it.
Yes.
Once per phase, per battle, per turn, or whatever it is.
Yep.
Right? But if it's like the army ability that you, the commander, are using, you only get the one.
Yeah.
You don't get to pick multiple units and blah, blah, blah.
And keep in mind that a lot of those things that say once per battle or once per army are couched in this who is doing it mechanic, where you may look at that and go, that's a lousy ability because it says once per turn. Well, it may just be once per unit per turn.
Yeah.
Or it may be a case of once per battle, but every unit can do it on different turns.
Yeah.
As long as you've picked a different unit, which to me, there's some abilities out there that are once per battle per unit. You're going to have to track that. You're going to have to use a marker of some kind to say, okay, those guys used that free shot. So I have to mark them so I don't use them again.
Yeah.
And it applies to the question that I saw that came up was if the unit is brought back via reinforcements keyword, does that negate their use of it previously? And it does not. If the unit is brought back, they have still used that ability. So anyway, that's just little rules lawyering kind of thing that's coming up. But honestly, I haven't seen near as many questions about basic mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
There's some esoteric questions, for weird situations that come up that obviously didn't come up in play testing. So, we'll see some clarifications soon, but
I feel like a lot of the stuff that's out there, again, it's that rules lawyering where people are really already starting to try and test the boundaries of the language in the book.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there are going to be some fun, complex interactions. Like it states in the rules, like if you must use an ability, even if it has no effect, you still are considered to have used that ability, right? Whether it's a unit or what have you. And so like the fun thing is going to be when like there's like a unit that must use an ability with no effect. And then there's another unit that can react to that.
Yes.
I think, again, that gets to like the Magic, kind of play style, where you're manipulating the stack.
Yes.
And I think that that's where a lot of high level play is going to be. I don't think there's been a lot. I mean, it's only been out for a little bit of time, right? There's not a lot of data out there. So, like we see some early winners of the game, and I think they're more like the armies that didn't really change terribly too much in terms of base mechanics from third to fourth. You have your Deepkin, Lumineth Realm Lords changed somewhat appreciably.
Yeah.
Just in the sense that not everything is casting spells now. Like Daughters of Cain tend to, operate pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
So those ones, are pretty strong coming into this, particularly for people who've just been playing them forever.
Yeah.
Okay, slight tweak to my army. I know how to play it now. I think the ones where you have like significantly bigger changes are going to be the probably sleeper armies.
Oh yeah. Fire Slayers.
Yeah, 100%.
They have morphed into from this complicated, oh my God, how many different runes have you done and what was done to this one on what particular turn? Now, all that is gone, and now they just have this great core set of rules that are like, oh, Fire Slayers are playable again. This is fun. So, yeah, it's just, I truly, truly like it. Just all of the mechanics around the basic part of the game are just so well improved. You are going to have to get used to looking at the keywords on the War Scrolls and look at the highlighted things in the text because it's very important and it can be key to using your units optimally and in the manner that was intended. So,
yeah,
especially look for that reinforcements keyword because that is flipping huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Fun. Now you wanted to say something about volume measuring. I like this.
Volume measuring. Where was I doing that?
You put volume measuring as a welcome thing. I think what you were trying to get at there is that the new rules for how you measure to and from models is simplified the wording.
Yeah, so having, 3-inch combat range.
Yes.
Period. Full stop.
That's it.
There's no anything from there. Having the sort of like infinite cylindrical upward targeting range. So that way, when you've got 3 models up against a piece of terrain and you've got 2 models on top of the terrain.
Yes.
Yeah, they're not in base-to-base contact, technically speaking, but because the combat range is infinitely upwards, right, and they're within the 3-inch cylindrical, you're still attacking them.
And it affects flyers, too.
Yeah.
So, it helps rein in the flyer shenanigans. So.
One rule I thought that they could have done a little bit better wording on, I mean, I think we all understand it, right? But you can't end within combat range.
Right.
But the way they're describing how flyers can move through combat range and over combat range without stating specifically they cannot end within combat range in that same section, I was like, people are going to try to say that lets them end within combat range.
No, it does not.
It does not. You still have to charge. You still have to be outside 3 inches prior to the charge.
The basic rule applies.
Yes. It's sort of like, yeah, we didn't say that here, but look back.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to look back. We're just saying that you can move through those areas.
Yep. So more off, just on the rules itself being very, very procedural. I personally love it. Rule books that are written like this. Hats off to that team. Big impact in coherency.
Oh, yeah.
Just so much of the stupidity and shenanigans that were so game immersion breaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking about narrative games. I'm talking about any game where it just made no sense most of the time how coherency worked.
Yeah.
Now it's a half inch, units of 6 or less, half inch, baby. Half inch to another model. 7 or more, half inch to 2 models. Don't be trying to just make these endless strings of plague bearers or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that is mitigated now by you can only reinforce once, or you can only add to the unit size once, but still.
Yeah, that's an important change there, right? Like, reinforce just means you double the unit size, right? Reinforce is not this thing where you get so many reinforcement points throughout the game. It's just, is this unit reinforced if eligible? Yes or no? I think it's important, one, for streamlining gameplay. I mean, then we won't have 60 zombies.
Right.
We won't have 60 clan rats or plague monks or something. Plus, generally, if you know how to sort of maneuver them, most of a 40 unit of 40, right, which is going to be all on 25s, right? You could probably, depending on what you're fighting, get them within 3 inches, right? So you're still getting the benefit of that full force.
Yeah.
Without having that like tail of 20 that just seems to be dragging butt. But the big thing for me, and it's one of the things that they kind of fixed by the end of 3.0, but ogres, right?
Yes.
The gluttons are in units of 6, and they could never, ever have more than 4 in the front line before that rules changed near the tail end of 3. And so, like, they were out of the game for most of 3. And so they've rolled that over because it just stinking makes sense. Particularly if you get units of 3 that you can reinforce, right? So when you get, 6 rat ogres, they're going to be able to walk up like a wall of flesh and pain. Yeah. But you'll be able to do that.
And
so
they're going to do their stuff.
Yeah.
They're going to have their fun. And it just makes it so much more approachable and easy for the casual gamer, as well as opens up hosts of possibility for the competitive minded. Oh my God, I have to get the strategy down for this. All new, all great. And just an incredibly simple change to the coherency rules did all of that.
Yeah.
So nice.
Though I would say, just commenting for ogres, it would be nice if all of the foot units were base size 6 instead of having, gluttons are 6, but iron guts and the lead belchers are 4.
Yeah, it's that throw off to, there are several places. When we get to the misses and detractors, we will talk about how marketing department made several rules decisions for this edition.
Who would have thought marketing would make rules decisions?
Yeah, I know. But I know how hard it is because, like, if they take Iron Guts and they change the unit size to 6, people are going to argue that, well, now I have to buy 2 boxes of Iron Guts and I now have 2 spare models that I have to throw away or find a place to store them until I need them. Yada, 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 yada. Well, just buy 3 boxes and you have 2 units. But I'm just saying, there's all that stuff. And that obviously was a marketing decision from way back when they originally did these in units of 4.
Yep.
And I think if they had their druthers now, they would change that boxing, that packaging. But that means changing the molds, the sprues, everything. It's not going to happen.
Well, I mean, lead belchers used to be units of 2.
Yeah.
And so there's only 2 lead belchers. You could change the faces if you got extra glutton faces. But there are 2 lead belchers.
Yeah.
That's it. So I would say arguably they'd probably be an easy one to get into a unit of 6.
Yeah.
Because it's just the same 2 models per sprue 3 times.
Yep. So Another okay, these sets of rules, the endless spells, the manifestations,
Yeah.
and faction terrains are, I think, going forward are going to become a little more problematic than GW thinks they are. They've done an amazing job of making endless spells much less of an annoyance than they used to be. They can be attacked and killed by anybody. They can also be dispelled, but having zero cost attached to them is literally going to create a have and have nots camp mentality. Those people that can bring manifestations are going to, because there's no point not taking them. They are absolutely free. And why not be throwing all that stuff out on the board? Meanwhile, your opponent who doesn't have access to them is going to be sitting back going, well, what do I do? Where's my...
Well, they sure as hell better start reprinting some of those. Because, again, haves and have-nots, there's literally physically have-nots because they do not have those for purchase.
I know.
So as long as all of it gets ripped back so everyone gets equal opportunity, I think where the real annoyance is going to be is because since they are physical things on the board, you have to go around them.
Yes.
And so any army that's got those types of manifestations that take up physical space, right? In a game where movement is key, they're going to be creating hellacious situations for people. I'm thinking particularly when you look at the manifestations themselves, the Flesh Eater Courts.
Yeah.
They've got the Corpse Main Stampede, which is a pretty large oval base.
Yep.
And they've got the Wall of the Dead.
Yeah.
So 2 of their 3 manifestations take up massive physical space on the board. That means your opponents are literally going to have to chew through an endless spell before they can do anything to you.
And just think if you're playing Gargants. Think if you're playing Sons of Behemoth. They have literally shut you down for a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Through no fault of your own and with no interaction from you. It's literally just back off, mate.
Yeah.
You're not, you can't do anything. Shut up. So annoying. However, giants can jump. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things and they have thought about all of this stuff, but I think going forward, manifestations may see some modification as we go forward. There is a lot of talk on Reddit about how tilted some of the games are simply because of the endless spells. Yeah. And they're just, your ability to place them ad nauseum makes for some very 0-point screens for your units and just basically turns off other armies. So, not fun.
When you have those armies that also have faction terrain.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking of Skaven here because you get your 3 Gnawholes. Yeah, they can fight and destroy your Gnawholes, but then what you could do at the beginning of your turn? I don't know, just make another one, And so you have Gnawholes popping up everywhere. You've got the Warp Lightning Vortex, which physically and just sort of visually creates a weird barrier.
Yeah.
Right? Granted, you only need to kill one of the points to be able to disable the whole thing.
Sure.
But that is a lot of real estate that's taken up. Then you've got the Rat Swarm spell, to just take all that space up. I mean, I think, well, I'm partial to Skaven, but rats have a lot of shenanigans right now.
Yes, and they have a very marked advantage in that Hell Spawn, Hell Crown campaign. It's like 64-36. The Skaven are winning by a large margin. And I think some of that is their ability to just basically, you're looking at Spearhead games. This is a 22-by-30 board. Being able to zone out half of it with your faction terrain, that's debilitating for a Stormcast army. So it's definitely, it's something that I think they're going to look at. I think it has to be looked at. And who knows, maybe they won't change it. But another key thing to look at, I think, in the game is keep in mind which are active and which are passive rules.
Yeah.
And referring back to the rules of 1, a unit can only be affected by a passive rule once. So if you have 5 different ways of giving them cover, they get 1. If you have 5 different ways of giving them some sort of similar ward, they get 1. So watch those passives and don't think that these passive abilities are all that game changing. I mean, they are amazing. They're good, but don't think about stacking them.
Speaking of not stacking anymore, I just have to comment that Mystic Shield being a 6-up ward instead of a +1 save now sends me. I when I read that in the book, I said, "Oh, thank the developers above," because you know that is like that was such a scourge.
Yes,
you know. I know you still have like all-out defense, you know, things like that, but
yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean that you're like, yeah, I'm at a +3 save, so I don't even know what rend is anymore.
Right.
The fact that was taken away, right, and just given a 6 ward, which is still decent, right, particularly if it's like, you know, good amount of wounds, you know, that they have to chew through.
Yeah.
I very, very happy about that. And I will agree, I'm very happy, like, you don't get double cover.
Right.
Just because I've got 2 things within range that give me cover doesn't mean I get cover twice.
Yeah, and, you know, it makes so much more sense now that things are worded the way they are. And again, they did such a bang-up job of making this a procedural rule book that doesn't lend itself to asking questions simply because the writing style was so bad. Now it's literally, this unit can do this thing. This is the effect. Full stop.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot.
And the combination with... since it is written so simply and things like that, the places where the rules are sort of like at the ends,
yes,
right, where you can kind of like tease with them, and that's where the real questions lie.
Yeah.
I like that because it's not trying to mess around with just the very basics of the game, right? It's like, yeah, these are interactions that we need to work through.
Yeah, it's so reasonably simple now. I love it. Super strong keyword, reinforcements. If your War Scroll has the reinforcements keyword, oh, love that War Scroll. Just take care of it. Love it. Protect it.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And gone are the shenanigans where they can kill you down to 1 guy and then stop attacking you.
Yeah.
Because, attacks are mandatory now. And just once that unit is gone, boom, roll the dice, set it up half as big. Mm-hmm. But if it was reinforced at the beginning to where it was twice its size, now it's a normal size unit.
Uh-oh.
And boy, is that huge. And keep in mind, that is baked into the points of some of these armies, is that some of these units are tagged with reinforcements, so they will be coming back. And I think that is a key core concept of the game, is that reinforcements keyword. And that does a lot for how the army is pointed.
Yeah.
And how rules or list construction is done.
Yeah.
The underdog mechanic. I want to hit this one. It's underdog is this great thing where if you are behind in points, it's there to catch you up.
Yes.
It varies battle plan to battle plan. In some of the battle plans, the underdog mechanic is bonkers strong.
Yep.
In others, it's just like, okay, yeah, it's there. It's a thing. Man, I love the idea of having some kind of catch-up mechanic so that the games aren't 24-2. And, it keeps the players in the game for a very reasonable cost in brain power, really. It's just, I do like it. Some of the underdog on some of the scenarios are questionable, but they're good. They're fine. And they will probably be tweaked here and there, but it's okay.
Yeah, because one of the big things is that double turn, right? Since you can't score your battle tactic, but you almost force the game to make you the underdog at that point. And it really feels like that just like skyrockets the value of the double turn.
Yeah. That mechanic has to be looked into again because, and to me, the simple change for that is if you take a double turn, you can never be the underdog again.
Yep.
There may be turns where there's no underdog, but you cannot benefit from underdog ever again because quite literally what you're going to do is take the double turn, cede the lead over to your opponent in points, but because you've already smashed them to a point of oblivion and you're the underdog, you're just going to rack it up and run away.
Yeah, I mean, like, now I've obliterated your army and I've got buffs or bonuses or something like that. What are you going to do?
it's a win more kind of a thing. And I think they felt like the idea of if you take the double turn, you can't do battle tactics. They thought that was going to be the big impactful. No, it's actually a benefit because I want to not score. I want to fall behind on the double turn so that I can then turn around and just whatever he has left, wipe it out and win the game.
Simple rules change for that. You ready? If you choose to take the double turn, you cannot be the underdog in the next battle round.
Okay. I would say for the rest of the game, but okay. I would even take that. I would even say, yeah, okay, good. That works.
Because, I mean, that in and of itself just cures it because you're looking for the underdog next round to just skyrocket back through after you did a huge punch, right? Yeah. Which, you know.
And it would make the impact of not getting battle tactics that round meaningful.
Yeah, yeah. No. It's okay that you don't. You took the double turn, so we're going to dock you points, but it's okay because you're actually going to get them the next turn,
right?
Because you're the underdog and you get all these buffs for it, so you get to smash through your opponent even more. And I think, was it Vince said on his, like, every time, like, you looked at the board state and someone asked who the underdog was, you would say, no, that can't be right.
It's the truth. It's the absolute truth. And it came up in a couple of the battle reports that I was watching where the guy that just got double turned was facing his next turn going, I don't want to take these points, but I have to.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, it's just, the game's going to be over.
Mm-hmm.
But if I do, I've just basically given you the advantage, every advantage. So, yeah, I expect to see a change shortly on that. Let me see here. We got the U opponent, any, know those keywords. We've already covered that. Can't wait for fun and complex rules interactions. That's yours.
Yeah, I already talked about that. That's when I say, like if an ability triggers, but nothing happens, your opponent can still react to that ability being triggered if they have a reaction to it.
Yeah.
And I think that is going to come up. It will come up.
Oh.
At some point. I haven't seen the scenario yet, and it's mainly because I haven't really memorized every ability in the game yet.
What?
God forbid
You've had
I ever
it for a week.
I know.
Jesus,
who would have thought?
Whacker.
But if it's going to come up at some point, because there will be that interaction that needs to be addressed. So overall, on the rules, very impressed. Really like it. Streamlined. Some wording could be slightly better, but as far as the rule sets they've released before, I think this is the cleanest one.
Oh, far and away the best rule set I have seen from Games Workshop.
Yeah, I remember when 3.0 dropped and just watching some of the videos, with people talking about the rules because they got them ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm a lawyer, so I know how to read these things, but I don't know if everyone does. This is so much simpler and straightforward.
Yes.
And the language is simple, not like simplistic.
Right. No.
It's understandable, straightforward, friendly. I think this is, and particularly the next section we're going to talk about, is going to get a lot of people who may want to try this game into it.
Yes. Yeah, because there's really great hooks, and when you look something up, it's in one place. By God, thank you. It's about time that thought was given to that sort of presentation. So let's move on to Spearhead itself and the Jade and Fire and Jade, whatever you want to call it, Spearhead.
Other than the models, probably the best thing that comes out of the Scaventide box purchase is this book.
Yes.
To date, it's, as far as we know, it's not going to be released anywhere else.
Correct.
All the rules are online for free, but this compendium has everything Spearhead.
Yep.
Which, I mean, of course, you need the cards and stuff that come with it, right? Which is, of the utmost importance. But every currently printed Spearhead force is in here, as well as, absolutely love this, the full core rule set at the back of the box.
So you only bring this book. Yes.
And you're good to go, right? Because one, you need your core rules, and two, you don't know if you're going to be playing a Spearhead game. What's so great is that unless you have a very niche army build, more than likely, if you're taking an army to the store or something like that to play some games, you've got the Spearhead components.
Yes.
For almost every one of the armies.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're like, no. I don't play any demons whatsoever in Maggotkin of Nurgle, right? I only play fat boys. Okay, well, you don't have your Spearhead force because you need Plague Bearers and Spoilpox. But the whole setup is just absolutely fantastic. I mean, I really just dig this book so much.
It's so good, so well thought out. the format Spearhead is it's knocked it out of the park, really. And one of the things I wanted to cover was how messed up Spearhead looks if you just look at it, because I'm going to go over some points now, and these are based on the points documents that came out on day one. But the little itty bitty Skaven warband that you can put together with the Grey Seer, the Storm Fiends, the Lightning Cannon, Clan Rats is 880 points. The bigger one with the Claw Lord with everything in the box is 930 points. The Stormcast, on the other hand, their small unit is 690 units. That's the Lord Vigilant Ungriffstalker with the Lord Veritant, 3 Prosecutors, 5 Liberators. That's 690 points.
Yeah.
Outclassed hard by the Skaven. Way outclassed. And then when you get to the Yndrasta Spearhead, which is Yndrasta, the Knight Vexilor, 3 Annihilators, 5 Vanquishers, and a Stormstrike Chariot, that's 1,030 points. So up yours, Clan Rats. And yet, these games play balanced because of the way the rules work.
Yep.
Because say you're taking the Yndrasta thing. Guess what? Yndrasta and the Annihilators come in on turn 3. Not optional. They come in on turn 3.
Yep.
Period. Okay, so you have to go through 2 full turns with a third of your army not on the board. Mm-hmm. So that is how they're balancing these point disparities between the different units. And I also put on here the Daughters of Cain, their Spearhead with the Melusai Iron Scale, 5 Witch Elves, 5 Doomfires, and 5 Bloodstalkers. That's only 670 points. They're going to get stomped by everything.
Oh, wait.
Oh, but wait.
The rules balance it.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe they have rules that make them cooler, like reinforcements and stuff. But anyway, yeah, it's interesting. I thought it was so interesting to see how, because when I first looked at, I was looking at, well, if you take the smaller Stormcast unit with the bigger Clan Rat or Skaven unit, you're literally almost 400 points off.
Yeah.
Or 200 points down. Mm-hmm. How do you come back from that? Oh, that's how. Okay, I get it. And it bakes into account the fact that the Stormcast can drop in anywhere they want and all these other things that go into it with the reinforcement mechanic and the healing mechanics and all of that stuff. So I thought it was very interesting how they can have these very disparate forces, points-wise, play a balanced game.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And one thing I just want to throw out there real quick, the new app they dropped, it's actually pretty clean for such an early release into the edition.
No, what the hell?
I was quite shocked by it.
What's going on?
Yeah, and you know what's bonkers about the size of the Skaven force in the box, right? Is that, like, literally just what's in the box comes out to 1,590 points.
Jesus.
You have almost a 2,000 point Skaven army in the box.
Dear God.
Right? And that goes to show just how they've sort of shrunk the amount of models that they're looking at having you put on the board.
Yes.
Right? Because what we're dealing with, did I miscalculate that? How many Clan Rats are there in one unit? 20. Okay, never mind. It's 1,270.
Okay.
That's a little bit more reasonable, right? But I mean, back when you think about Skaven players, right? At least, from 1.0 all the way through most of 3.0, right? You're thinking like, yeah, they're going to have at least 180 little dorks on the battlefield, because you reinforce them double and then just have more of that unit, because you always get them in 20, you know? So like, oh God, here comes 2 blocks of 60 plague monks, and then there's all these other plague monks, and oh look, more plague monks. Now, like when you're at 1,270 points, right? You're looking at, that's just, 40 Clan Rats.
Yeah.
It's a total of 50 something models.
But with the reinforcements keyword, they're coming back at least once.
Yeah.
So it's one of those deals where you're still a horde army, but you don't have to put the horde on the table turn 1.
Yep.
And that's gorgeous. And, as opposed to summoning mechanics, I don't have to bring extra of something.
Yep.
You know, I don't have to have another 40 sitting in a box waiting to come on. No, I will literally run what I brung, and lessens the transport, lessens the setup time. It's just super well thought out to making the game play faster, better, stronger, Bionic Man kind of crap. So,
Or Daft Punk, depending when you were born.
okay.
But that's just how well this game is balanced. Spearhead in particular, right?
Yep.
It sometimes feels a little bit like, you know, it's just not rock, paper, scissors, you know, rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock, etc. Right? Because there are going to be some forces that are really good against other forces innately.
Yep.
I mean, who the underdog is and the twists you get on the field and stuff like that can change all that. But it requires a higher level play to be able to beat some of them. So I'm not saying that like you automatically lose if it's Fire Slayers against Ideneth or whatever it is.
Yeah,
right?
no.
It's just that you'll have a slightly more difficult time than you might otherwise. And it's not going to be monumentally more difficult.
Right.
The only thing that's going to be hard is trying to catch eels and sharks
Oh, God.
on your stubby little legs. But fortunately, it's a smaller size
Spearhead
battlefield.
is small. And, you know, one of the things that to me is crazy in Spearhead, such a small board, but all the rules stay the same. You have to be 9 inches from here. You have to set up within 6 inches of that. It stays the same. So, you know, in Spearhead, don't think of turn 1 as that where you move to contact. Think of it as the turn where you go in and start smashing face right now. And you have to start thinking about smashing face, because if you take turn 1 in Spearhead, I would always if I have the choice, I would always give up turn 1. That way I can do the smashing.
Right.
So,
Right.
But again, those are decisions you have to make knowing that there's a potential double turn coming your way. Oh, God, I do love the way they fixed all this stuff.
Right.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we will then move on from Spearhead to our one sentence of lore coverage. And then we'll move on to other things.
There you go.
Wesley, what about the ROUSs?
Rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist.
Okay, we are back, and the lore for the book. It's in there. There's a bunch of pages in the beginning that have lore. If you want, read them, because it's Skaven, and they came out of the ground, and stuff happened, and the Crusades are, and yeah. I have to admit, I glossed over the lore just to dive into the rules. And I've been waiting for Doug to continue on with his lore series so that I can learn what the lore is in the book. Because I just don't see myself reading it right now.
Not at this point, for sure. And it's surprising how much lore is actually in that core rule book.
It's a
It is
chunk.
mostly, I think it's more than half of it is like lore.
Yes, and what we said about, you know, it has the typical factions at war. Here's the pretty pictures of all the different factions. Hey, marketing, what do you want to tell us about? You know, what pictures do you want us to use? Okay, here's, 50 pages of the book. But up to that point, like the first 80 pages are the lore. And, obviously this is a rule book. So they're going to give you from the beginning how the Age of Sigmar came to be. And then they're going to catch up a little bit with the Dawnbringers and this, that, and the other thing. But they're giving you a great overview with a beautiful map, by the way.
Oh, yeah. This
the
map
is
nothing.
so gorgeous. But they talk a little bit about the realms, and just production quality wise, this book is on point. Talk about the different realms, and they give you everything you need to have a background in the game. And quite literally, there is a page about the Dawnbringers. I would expect to see that get expanded upon. What with the series being continued, and as we kind of supposed, the Dawnbringers Crusade was not just the end of 3rd edition and the launch of 4th. I think it's a storyline they're going to go forward with, and that's awesome. That's so good. I really like how they're kind of planning, and they had some forethought with how are we going to tie these lores together. It's not like in this edition they advanced time 200 years like they did the last time. It's this is, hey, yesterday we ended version 3. Today we're in version 4. So I like that a lot.
I do too. My favorite map in here though is going to be of all the realms.
Oh, that fold out, the double center fold. Yeah.
Just gorgeous.
Oh yeah. Look at the things on that.
And just really putting their vision of what it is to paper,
Yep.
you know. Still funny though that Azir is sort of like it's not declassified yet, so it's got the symbol in front of it, so you don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, it's you know.
But it's gorgeous book, and it's like I think the rules don't start till like page 195.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
they run to like 260 something. So
Yep.
you're getting like 70-ish pages of rules. The rest of it's lore and art and all that stuff.
And keep in mind, you know, we're talking about 70 pages of rules, but when you get to the Spearhead book, the core rules without all of the extraneous stuff are clamped down to about, I think, 13 pages. Let me see. There's the attack diagram. Yeah, between the examples and the stuff, you're looking at less than 20 pages of core rules. Yep. And that has some pretty big full page illustrations. Like the timing chart is a full page. So we're not talking about a rule set that is anywhere near as big as even 3.0 and yet is so good, so tight. I love it.
22 pages.
Okay, 22.
22 pages total, and that's not including the glossary, but
yeah,
that's from tip to toe. So
yeah, and you know, like I said, keep in mind some of those are full page illustrations.
Yeah,
you know, when they talk about the anatomy of a unit card, okay,
yeah,
there it is. So, did we talk about the loss of Battle Shock?
Yeah, I mentioned it. Yeah,
okay.
It's just taking that whole thing away. It's like it's just the end of turn, right? End of turn phase.
You know, I have to throw out major props to them for getting rid of Battle Shock because it was a poor mechanic. It had actually rendered itself unnecessary. And because it was a mechanic in the game, they felt like it was a lever they could pull for certain factions to maybe make Battle Shock bombs. And, you know, I'm going to lower your leadership by this amount and then force you to roll it twice. And always a horrifically unfun effect for the opponent. Here's basically a devastating attack that you can do absolutely nothing to mitigate. Absolutely nothing. And it was no fun. And the factions that relied on it were a scourge and nobody liked them. But anyway, that's Battle Shock.
I think
it's gone.
I think its major sin was like involving like shooting armies, right? When you like to play hordes and they would pluck out, you know, 10-ish of your 40-man unit, and then half that 40-man unit would run. So you start with 40 and you're down to 15 because some elves got plucky with some arrows. Like that was one of the things that got me about Battle Shock, because it was like ranged armies really had an advantage, probably better than the Battle Shock bombs that people tried to make.
Much better. Yeah.
They could just like, I'm going to pick out a number over here, a number over here, and then half your unit's gone, so I don't care anymore. It's just completely neutered.
And the way you fought those Battle Shock armies was you had inspired presence and you had all the different ways to avoid taking Battle Shock at all. And just about every faction had a artifact or a device in some way that said this unit doesn't take Battle Shock. Okay.
And now it's just gone.
Now the entire thing for your army's gone.
Yep.
So, and again, I'm going to throw one out to Conquest. There is a Battle Shock they call it Resolve, and it is devastating, and it's baked into the game. I don't think you'll ever see that go away.
Yep.
However, shooting attacks don't cause morale tests.
Yep.
It's just, oh, look, Bob died. Oh, well, let's move on. You know? And it's just one of those, there's a lot of different types of attacks in the game that don't cause resolve tests. But when you do get charged by a bunch of knights on horses, there's a resolve test there. You might run away.
All you plebs with your resolve tests. I just play Old Dom.
They should make resolve go away. That wouldn't make Old Dom go away. Oh yeah, no, don't do that.
Oh man, the new models too, the Ketty Kettys and the
just stop.
Padremoy. Oh god, they're so gorgeous, Bill.
I
so
almost went and bought the Old Dom starter box. Just stop. Don't even bring it up.
Just like I'm almost about to play dwarves riding robots. Like,
oh my god, that model is so gorgeous.
It's giving the thumbs up. I can't.
Yeah, and Terry got one of those. He was gifted one. It is so nice, so gorgeous.
We digress.
Yes, we do. Anyway, so we're on to basic. Moving on. Sorry, the Path to Glory section. Now, Keep in mind, we are going to do a much expanded Path to Glory section when one of the first 2 books comes out, be it Skaven or Stormcast or both, where we're going to cover the exact mechanics of the Path to Glory system and how it works and how it has changed. It has changed Major League. It is no longer you are required to have an Excel spreadsheet to figure out where all your units are with their different points and if they have different wounds and if they have this veteran ability and if they used it and had to get rid. No more of that.
Nope.
It's all gone. Nowadays, the Path to Glory system is really based around the hero and building up your hero along these several different paths.
Yeah.
Exclusionary paths, which I think are wonderful.
Yes.
When you're level 1, you get to pick from one of these 2 abilities. Choose wisely, because you can never go back.
Never.
Until we get a rule that allows you to go back, but that's neither here nor there. And then when you get level 2, pick an ability, level 3, level 4. And the ones in the rule book are obviously the most basic ones that are going to apply to everyone. So they're so generic, it hurts. Interestingly, they do call out right there in the Path to Glory section, stay tuned for more Path to Glory information in each battle tome.
What I hope they do there, I keep the core of the paths, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have your generic paths. There's 4 for heroes, 2 for non-heroes. And that's all they add, right?
Right.
Maybe some fun little tweaks here and there. But I mean, we've done away with territories, thank God.
Yes.
We've done away with injuries, thank God. It's, like you said, no more having to simulate Robote Gilliman as he tries to expand the forces of the Imperium, right? It's literally just, you have this unit. The unit can level up. If the unit levels up, you can pick an ability.
Yes.
Of one of 2 until you get all the way up. Hey, if you no longer want that unit in your army, you can retire that unit. Not this, okay, well, because I got, just a full shellacking in that fight against, I don't know, Heed Knights of Slanesh in that last game. Now, most of my units are between 1/2 to 2/3 their starting force, starting size. And now I'm going against another opponent who hasn't lost a game yet and hasn't suffered that many casualties.
Yeah.
It was just too much paperwork. It does not look like that here. And so I'm hoping that each Battles Home gives different paths that make sense, like sort of narratively.
A hero progression that we were just talking while we were taking a break. It'd be nice to be able to say grow a basic hero, a basic slaughter priest, and grow him up to where he reaches ascension and he becomes a demon prince.
Yep.
After a time and all of this, there's a lot of things they can do just within that framework that isn't going to require a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And, a volume of paper that is far more than should be necessary for a Path to Glory campaign.
I'm thinking like Path of the Great Horned Rat or something like that for Skaven, where it's sort of all inclusive, right?
Yeah.
So you have your hero associated with whatever clan, and that when they get to the ultimate one, they ascend into the Vermin Lord version for that clan.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just so many different ways. And you were having these ideas about, different ways to reflect the flavor of the army.
Yeah.
And I will let you describe your idea. I won't do it.
I think it'd be really fun, and this could be like the ultimate thing for Molder, since Molder doesn't actually have a Vermin Lord yet. That like their ultimate thing they can gain is like once per battle, you can sacrifice like a unit of clan rats, let's say with 20 plus wounds on it, right? It's like a 20 to 40 block of clan rats. And if you do, you can replace it with a Hell Pit Abomination, something super fun to just like, we Frankenstein these things together. Or if it was like you could sacrifice a certain number to get rat ogres or something, just something where like it actually captures the flavor and it's not something that's necessarily broken. Because like a Hell Pit Abomination dies to a stiff breeze still.
Right.
But that's so fun, right? All right, here are my clan rats. I'm going to blow them up. Here's a Hell Pit, Awesome.
And it would be so themey. Here's my horde army. All of a sudden, it's not a horde, but I have these 3 extra rat ogres, or, I have this Hell Pit Abomination. It's just, there's so many ways they can go. I'm very interested to see what they do. The very basic framework that's in this rule book it's interesting, and you can see where they could possibly go. I just hope that they stick with this kind of mentality of, hey, this is me. This is a representation of me on the battlefield, and I want to grow as a leader, and I want to grow and become a more powerful, and I can pick where my power lies. I love that. So watch for more Path to Glory as we go forward, as you might no doubt expect from us. You know, if you want the competitive coverage, go over to Cubic Shenanigans. If you want the narrative stuff, come to us. So.
Hey, I mean, not that we're not going to be playing a lot of Spearhead, because I think that's the casual competitive.
Oh God! Don't even start on that. That's an After Dark thing. That casually competitive. Oh God, marketing! Get the hell out of the room. Anyway, After Dark. After Dark. So let's talk about the hobby part of Skaven Tide.
Yeah.
Go ahead and start us off. I'm flabbergasted.
So for the most part, I thought it was fairly enjoyable to put these models together compared to past push fit models. Again, I only built the Skaven side of things. Now, some of the posts to like the posts. Ooh, hold on a second. Just got to think of how to say that without being dirty. So the post to receiver relationship in the model, sometimes it wasn't entirely too clear. Just slightly the angle you had to be at to get them there. And so I kind of fumbled with a couple of the models, but not a lot of them.
Yep.
I think for the most part, they went together pretty well. Best call out for me is that those clan rats, the leaders, are 3 pieces.
Yes.
Every other clan rat is 2 pieces.
Yes.
Like,
you're doing 40 of them. Good Lord.
And they took that into account,
yes.
You know, like when you're building the old clan rats, right? It didn't matter. I mean, those things were what? I think it was 4 pieces each.
Yeah.
3 to 4 pieces each. The 2-piece each thing, and like they generally go together pretty well, you know, nice and clean.
Yep.
The bigger models, like the snazzier models for the Skaven side of things, really fun to put together. I thought the Rat Ogres were fun. The freaking Gatling gun from hell is so fun to put together. Claw Lord was all right. The 2-foot heroes, well, let's say the Grey Seer was a little too complicated. It shouldn't have been so complicated. Shooty guy, what's his name? The Warlock Engineer went together really well. Giselles. At first, I was a little weirded out by him. You know, I was like, I'm not quite too sure how to do this. But the second I got a flow on him, it was just pop, 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 pop. So I thought they were quite enjoyable to put together. That said, like I said, when you've got issues where you're not too sure if this is the right angle to put it on, some of the diagrams in there weren't entirely too clear, so you had to figure it out, you know, and just give your best guess as to how to do them. I thought, on the whole, it's an improvement over the past attempts that were made.
Big time.
So I got those done. Now I'm just sitting on a bunch of Stormcast.
Yep.
Lame.
Hey, watch it. On the Stormcast side, I have to say...
Stormcast are cool.
Stormcast cool. Get a little Elric in there. I got to say, the only model that I thought could have been improved was the...
Reclusians?
Yeah, first of all, they're not in any of the battle forces in the box.
Yeah.
Or any of the spearheads. But they are super cool models. The only thing I did not like was the way their cloaks didn't have an overhang, so there is gaps. There's mold lines, or not mold lines, but there's a little bit of a gap there, no matter how hard you press it. And again, with these push fits, one thing I found, especially with the Stormcast, was almost every one of the little posts, I would go in and clip it at an angle, just to make the insertion a little easier. Just to, and I'm not talking about a violent angle. I mean, just clipping the very edge off so that there wasn't so much resistance to that initial penetration.
and not to mention some of the posts at times seemed a little too long for.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to clip part of them off. And almost all the time, though, you can see the ones that are too long.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty obvious. That's really long. And for these things to be that close tolerance on the fit, you probably do need to just chop off some of that. And, you know, it's one of those things after you build the first one, you figure it out.
Yeah.
One nice part about the Stormcast side is there's very little repetition. The only thing that there was 10 of was the Liberators, but they were still fun to put together, especially when you're looking at the different heads and how they have these little arms that are like bent around another post. So where it goes in is down here, then it comes up, goes this big arc around another post, then sticks up another ½ inch, and then there's the head where it sticks out of the uniform. And I'm like, well, it's time to pop these all off of the thing and glue the heads in wherever I want.
Yep.
And just, if you want to get that variation on the heads, it's just clip the heads right where the ball joint is, and you can glue it to the model super easy. So on the next set that I do, I will be doing all head swaps. So
Beautiful.
yeah, just so that they're completely different. This one was built just straight out of the box. The prosecutors, oh my God, look what I can do without breaking the model, waving it up and down wildly. They stay together.
Who would have thought you didn't put it on a freaking flight stand?
Jesus. Yeah, these are so good. And yes, I will tell you right now, you can put the wings on upside down. I was actually looking at this one model, and I just started, I clipped off all the parts, clipped off all the gates, and, worked down all the mold lines. And I just started test fitting one, and I slapped the wings onto it and flipped it around, and I was looking at how the body went on, and I was like, this just does not look right. And I realized I had turned the wings upside down, and I was like, whoa, there's a rookie mistake. But I do like the way the wings are in two parts, and they fit into the same hole with half of the circle on each one. So they really reinforce each other, and just a dab of plastic cement will make it to where they never will move, ever. So really great kits.
Like I say, if you don't want to build the prosecutors, you could take all of the wings and turn them into a biblically accurate angel and tell your opponent to be not afraid. And
I looked at those wings so much for swaps for the Sisters of Battle, and I was like, these are so gorgeous. They would work so well. That's in the future. I think that's going to happen because they look, I'm waiting for that kit to come out and it's not push fit iteration to see how well that's going to work.
God, that'd be so cool with those wings.
Yep. So a little bit about the factions and what we've seen so far of the different spearheads. I gotta say, I think the Stormcast are still a little hit and miss on their abilities. I think some of the units have abilities that don't make sense to be on them. Others don't have abilities that they kind of need in order to be effective. But overall, I like the way the Stormcast look these days. I don't think what's in the box is truly representative of what a good force for Stormcast is going to look like eventually.
Yeah.
They are poster child models, so yeah, we're going to use those. One thing I just did not understand was the addition of the Reclusians and then never having them appear in any of their spearheads at all. So you open the box, you're like, oh, well, I have the Jade and Fire book, so I've got the War Scrolls for some of the units in the box, but these other guys, I've got to wait 2 weeks before I can even figure out what they do.
Yep.
So that was a huge miss, GW. Don't let marketing tell you what you have to put into your armies and what have you. Do what you know is right.
Especially if you're just making it casually competitive.
Right. I mean, this is casual stuff. Add the Reclusians. They are really quite good, and they look like a lot of fun to play with.
Oh, yeah.
And you left them out. You said, nah, we don't need them. Dumb. Very dumb. Either don't put them in the box or put them in the box and give them some utility in the box.
For sure.
So, again, like you said here, in the faction world, we are so burdened by choice now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Looking through the Night Haunt, and I'm just like, oh, my Lord, everything has a place. Everything has a thing to do. Looking at how they captured the flavor of all the different factions without overdoing it at this point is so much fun. And,
right.
Even Hedonites, they still look like they're going to be a functional army on the table.
Their spearhead is pretty decent.
Yeah.
I mean, you get some of that old flavor that you got from the Temptation dice. Thank God it doesn't involve, like summoning anything.
Yeah.
But
oh, God.
they they have some of that old flavor, right? So they can build up, their depravity points and have them for, decent uses, usually run in charge or retreat in charge shenanigans. But I'm really excited to see what comes out of this because we really kind of don't know right now.
It's the Wild West.
Yeah, as much as we sit here and we can theory craft and be like, well, based off these 2 tournament results, looks like Inet Deepkin is the thing too. Oh my God, Fire Slayers just stomped him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, here comes KO. What are you talking about? Sylvaneth won a tournament. Like literally, folks, do not think that any one faction is better than any other faction, except for Heat Knights of Slaanesh. They are not good.
Yeah.
But I mean, everyone aside from Heat Knights got something they can play with, something they like that's very on theme for their army and gives them an opportunity to be in the game. It's going to be a long time of games and battle tomes and everything for us to finally really shake out. If you're looking at the competitive sense,
sure,
what's hot and what's not. But I think the best part is that if you love a certain faction, that's the faction that you want to play. And for the most part, unless you're Heat Knights, that you are going to enjoy playing your faction, unless you are the Heat Knight that likes pain.
Yeah. Well, then you'll be happy too.
You're really enjoying it.
Yeah. It's, I look at the Nurgle Spearhead is very, very strong. The Nighthaunt army is very strong. There's just, I don't think there's a loser in the crowd that you're not going to want to at least test out. The way the indexes are structured, where you have these basic 4 different battle traits that are going to define your army. And of course, list building having changed so violently.
Yeah.
And gone are the days where, the battle line if bullcrap.
Yeah.
Which I truly, absolutely hated. And a lot of the faction locking is now gone from the armies.
Yeah.
They may be present in the regiments. A particular leader can only take stuff that would follow him or her.
Yeah.
Whereas you can now mix those things in an army and have the fun that you wanted to have in previous editions but could not.
Yeah.
I truly love that. Because, just looking over at, say, Lumineth Realm Lords, well, I have to make this choice. Do I want to be the Windy Boys? Do I want to be the Mountain Boys?
Yeah.
Do I want, you know what? Yeah, no, I can be both now. I can have my battle cattle along with some actually hefty hammer-wielding guys right alongside Sephiroth and the Windy Boys. And, oh, my God, the double model for them, the girl and the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Holy, have you read their War Scroll?
Yeah.
Oh God, they're good.
That's the only way they get the Eclipse spell. No.
Yeah, it's the only way. And just the idea that she leads, if she leads the unit, you have to pick at the beginning of each turn who's going to lead, her or him. She's the mage, he's the fighter. So basically the first couple of 3 turns, you're using her to get the ward.
Yeah.
And then once you're in the thick of it, you're using him to become the Vegematic, the blender.
Yep.
So it's really neat. Just the way they've reimagined and reconfigured, Lord Croak and the Seraphon, still terrifying, but within the framework of these new rules, not overly, just Croak is off the hook. It was funny because I was digging through, I threw a lot of game stuff away over the weekend as I was going through, old books. I'll talk about that in After Dark with all my old books. But I came across the original Lizardman Warhammer Fantasy rules where they introduced Lord Croak. Mm-hmm. Reading through that book and Realizing that he was the number 2 guy in that book because what's his name? Ms. Catelyn was actually the powerful Slan. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, they have to bring him back. And I was, I had such pangs of, they had tic-tac-toe in there, and I'm just like, oh, we need him back so bad.
Right.
Some of those old, give me tic-tac-toe.
For anyone who's wondering, Bill's LRL list, where he's combining Battle Cattle and the Windy Boys, it's called Breaking Wind. He can send you the list.
God, you spoil everything. It's the Breaking Wind list. Yeah, LRL looks like they're going to be a lot of fun. I think every faction is going to be a lot of fun.
Agreed.
And the beauty of this new system is you can test out the faction.
Yep.
Buy the Spearhead box, build it, maybe paint it, but you'll get a feel for it without dropping all the money it takes to get a 2,000 point army, unless you're playing Sons of Behemoth. Then just shut up and buy the models.
Right.
So I do love, I never thought I would say this, but the idea of the Gargants having the reinforcement keyword. I'm like, I'm sorry, say what?
Yeah. What?
You're serious, right? Okay. No, it does make sense. So, yeah, Sons of Behemoth got a nice little glow up, I think, in this edition.
I think they're pretty good.
Yeah. They're gonna be fun to play and playable. So I'm not saying they're gonna set the world on fire, but they're good. Now, it wouldn't be a show if we didn't start talking about some things we didn't love about the edition. And there's a couple of misses in here, I think. No?
Yeah, I think so. I was trying to figure out how to make a joke about it, but I was going to be like, first off, GW didn't ship them right away. And, oh, wait, this isn't After Dark.
No.
So not having the unit rules in the book, right?
Yep.
Not having their cards, you know, like, I don't know, 40K did, so not having access to those things and having to rely on the PDFs. I don't know if that was like, oh, we learned our sort of, financial literacy lesson from 40K that we don't want to release these and then release all the other ones, straight out, because why would we do that? It's just wasting money, right? Sort of double printing however many units, right? But by golly, we need to know those rules.
Yeah, and it just leaves a sour taste for the very new player, and this box aimed at both the existing and the new hobbyists, giving them units they don't have access to. They don't know how to use. They don't know how to put into a list. And in the Spearhead environment, they can't use them at all. Yeah. Why did you do that? I understand that you had to have some sort of exclusive models in this box to make it more fun for the existing players to buy, but we were going to buy it anyway. We needed the rule book. We wanted the General's Handbook cards. We wanted the cards for the Spearhead, the twists, and the fun things, the battle traits or the battle tactics.
Yeah.
So we were going to buy it no matter what. You let marketing determine too much of what was going on in this box. So don't do that ever again. Okay. We're just going to drop it there, and we'll pick this up again in 2-3 years. Okay. A couple of other misses. They still have this belief in their mind that certain mechanics in the game are valued by players when in fact they are not. And I'll go back to saying defensive tech on units is valued higher than it should be when it's so negatable. Yeah. And things, I would say things like the underdog mechanic or the double turn mechanic, which on the face of it seems like very, very strong, very powerful, and yet very balanced because, well, you're going to get no points that turn pretty much other than the basic points for, hold more and hold this and hold that. Yeah. But, not being able to score those battle tactics is really where the penalty comes from, except that that's not so much of a penalty. It's a bonus that will almost, if you can plan it correctly to where your opponent vaults ahead of you by 1 or 2 points and leaving you as the underdog for the next turn, it's double turn plus. Yes. And that is a very bad mechanic. And like you said, just toss that caveat in there. In addition, you may not be the underdog in the following turn. Okay. Or just leave it as you cannot be the underdog in the next turn. Yeah. And all of a sudden, now the double turn becomes a lot more of a decision. Yes. Because you're not scoring and you're not getting the benefit and who knows. But it's still very, very strong. Very strong mechanic. Agreed. And almost, I would say, almost too strong in a game of Spearhead where losing units is so devastating. But yeah, true. Time will tell. This is so early in the edition. it'll be months before we can actually look at hard data that says this mechanic is broken.
Yeah, it's true. There is a lot of hurry up and wait right now. So much theory crafting going on. So really just embrace that. Just don't think like, oh, I need to build the best right now. You need to build your army, right?
Yeah.
Compose your army. Play with it. Get the games under your belt. Play Spearhead. Just get into the edition and the rest will figure itself out later, right?
And, hang out on the faction Discords, hang out on the faction Reddits, and see what people are putting together. And, the great thing is you put together a 2,000 point list, throw it up on Reddit or the Discord, and you'll get some amazing feedback. And one kind of cool thing about the AoS community is you put up a list, and I don't care how good or bad it is, and you ask for comments, critiques, criticisms, and by and large, people are going to say, looks good, but, or I would have done this. There's very little of that's a crappy list, get it out of here. It's more often than not, people are very willing to help you tweak a list that you've made and give you the reasons why they took this unit out and put that unit in. Or why they said, hey, reinforce that unit because it will be better if there's 20 of them. Here's why. So that's the beauty of the AoS community being so much better than some other game communities out there.
40K.
Yeah. So, wow, that frog in my throat. So it's like you said, don't try to build the tournament winning list right now. It will come. There's so many variables right now, even within just the factions themselves. There's so many interactions that have yet to be discovered. It's nuts. And watch battle reports.
Yep.
Go on Play on Tabletop. Just a myriad of different channels that are doing battle reports. And, even watch the ones where people are making mistakes because you will probably try to make that mistake as well. So it's okay.
You may not even try to make that mistake. It might just be that the mistake is made, but you will have learned, oh, crap, I'm sorry. I remember now. I watched this video. Let's go back real quick.
Yeah.
And let's fix that, right?
Easy.
Not just focusing on playing your games, but focusing on like phasing, right?
Oh, boy.
Declaring abilities, declaring reactions, right? And if you haven't played in a while, like a competitive card game or strategy card game, sitting there and talking about passing priority, right?
Yes.
I'm beginning my turn. I have no beginning of turn abilities. I pass the priority to you. Do you have any beginning of turn abilities, right? And even if that like takes time at the very beginning, that like could extend the game a little bit, particularly under Spearhead, you're still getting in the good habit, right? And that's what's going to happen. People who are going to try and speed play this stuff, right, aren't going to be looked at fondly.
Right.
So make sure that you're not just zipping through. It's like, okay, beginning of turn, then I'm going to go ahead and declare movement on this model and then declare it on this model and that kind of stuff. No, like you have phases, reactions, everything's an ability.
Yeah.
So get in the habit of not just thinking that way, but being a benefit to your opponent and having them think that way too.
Yes.
It seems like it could be a little daunting at first. God, it's going to be so annoying to have to think about that every single time. But it makes you a better player, period.
And it will become second nature soon enough.
And that makes it better so you can keep your opponents in check, right? Hold on. I had a reaction to you, doing X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Before you start trying to speed play me. So slow down.
Well,
right?
actually.
Push-up classes. It's a whole new world right now.
It is. It's great. And all I can do is give this new edition right now a unqualified A. I would not give it an A+, just because we haven't seen everything yet. We're a week into it, so.
Yeah, at first blush, we're sitting in A territory, I think.
You betcha. So the rules are so well written, concise, to the point, and short. Love it. So before we end the show, I want to do the quick news at 11.
Okay.
So the pre-orders for next week are, who knew? It's not like they weren't revealed this week, but the introductory set, the starter set, the ultimate starter set, which is Scaventide without the, do you even get the Jade book? Nope. Yes, you do. You get the 144-page small format Spearhead, Fire, and Jade book, which will probably make me have to get that. God darn it. I hate it because I love those small format books.
I absolutely love them too. And this is such a good one. I mean, it's such a good one. That ultimate set though, let's see.
Yeah. And it says something weird. Complete war scrolls for every spearhead you can currently buy.
Currently buy.
Yeah,
ladies and
okay.
gentlemen. That means it is going to expand.
So it's the full Fire and Jade book,
Yep.
just in a small format.
Yep.
You get, let me see. Oh, the 3 and 6 inch clip together range rollers. Did you look at that range roller that came with the game?
Oh God, no.
Oh, it's all rats.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's here. Hold on, let me give it to you.
I guess I just really wasn't paying attention when I was building my Skaven tide. I was like, give me the rats. But now I need to go back and find that piece.
Yeah, every inch. It's on the terrain sprue.
Okay.
Every inch marker is a rat.
I love it.
Cute. Yeah.
I love it.
And it's 3 and 6 inch. You can pop it apart. So it's kind of nice.
Oh.
It's actually not bad. I mean, it's silly, but it's really not a bad thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. So yeah, those are the sets that are going to come out. Of course, the obligatory Stormcast and Skaven paint sets are coming out with a carefully selected set of paints to make your models look meh. I mean, to make them look great according to the Citadel paint system. As a quick aside, if you go to Rogue Hobbies, Luis did a video about how to escape from the Citadel painting system. And it's a really good video. It's not, poo on the Citadel painting system. It's when you have gotten your feet wet with the Citadel paint system and, the base coat, wash, highlight mentality.
Yeah.
Here's how to move forward. Here's how to do different things without really completely breaking your ability to do things and how to think through it. So very good video. It's Rogue Hobbies. Luis is awesome. Watch her, subscribe to her. Subscribe to us because you'll get entries into the giveaway. There's also a Age of Sigmar paint and tool set, Avoid Like Plague. I mean, it's great. It's got all the tools you need to get started. And then there's Getting Started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar, where you get a Liberator and a Rat. Yeah, okay. But then, interestingly enough, and I thought the game was dead, Warcry, Briar, and Bone set is coming out, and that is Sylvaneth, and who else is that? Who's
OBR.
OBR?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, sure is. It's OBR, it's Cavalry Guy. It's the Bone Horse.
Yeah, and apparently bone dogs and bone vultures.
And bone vultures and a incredibly cool looking piece of terrain.
Yeah, it's a tree that eats people.
And I am all in on that Warcry set for the models.
Two of your armies right there.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's a great set. That Ravening Gnarl Oak is awesome. Also coming up are the Yidrillan River Blades. So I've got to go with LRL on that one. Pyregeists, go figure. Nighthawk get a shout out. That Idol of the Old Ones gets broke out of the old box and is available by itself.
I love that piece of terrain.
It's so beautiful.
Good.
I got to bust mine out. So, and also is from the Black Library, Lioness of the Parch. Talia Vedra is a talented warrior, ruthless mercenary, and champion of Hammerhall Aksha. But when the Chaos Warlord blah, 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 crushes a well-defended citadel, she's thrown into unfamiliar territory, politics. Okay, there's going to be a lot of exposition in that book.
Yeah, then you got Black Talon in paperback now.
Oh.
In case you wanted it.
If you haven't
In
read
paperback.
that or listened to it, it's a very good read.
Copy that.
Very good. Very good. So that's the news at 11. So are we done here?
Yeah, this is our episode 164 for AoS 4. Certainly we have more opinions after dark. We'll be a little unplugged and unedited and uncensored. And so if you want to hear what we really think, why don't you join us after dark?
Get raffle tickets.
Oh, yeah.
The music in the show is used courtesy of Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com and is used under the Creative Commons license. The Rolling Bad podcast itself is protected under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 International License. Information for this license can be found at creativecommons.org.